Coming directly into the game for Slug Wolves and Nameless. Storm Spirit's going to be mid on Nuwa, with the opposing having the Razor. Looks like bottle got refilled by the support. Shadow Demon doesn't look like he wants to go top, but the top laner is going to be shoved out by the support. The support could do a little bit more to push him out of XP range, but let them do what they got to do. I mean, they feel comfortable doing this. We know that Nameless isn't a team that gives up their early game advantages. Plus, you know, they're smart players. Same for Slug Wolves, or else they wouldn't have formed a team. A little bit of damage down onto the Lich, but nothing gonna come out to it. Just a little bit of harass, a little bit of trading up mid. Looks like the Razor is gonna be able to take a little bit of advantage compared to where he was earlier, taking a lot of this damage. No raindrops, just a bottle fill. But the Storm Spirit having about the same. Though if we look at how the earlier trading was going on, somehow the Storm Spirit will end up gaining the advantage again. Bottom lane, same thing. Lion Stun's coming out, a little bit of Mana Drain coming out too, denying the XP for that internal BKB of the Lifestealer with a Stomp coming out. They know he has no mana, turns around, hits the wand, gains some mana. Dingo's not really able to do much because the lack of mana. Can use his Q, but doesn't choose to do that. The Lion getting a stun off, mana sapping, doing what Lion does best in lane, able to take the mana away, make the lane phase a little bit of a struggle for him. But it's not that good of a position for Slug Wolves in the bottom lane. Doesn't seem like they're getting a lot of HP regen dropped out. HP regen would be really good here for the Lich to do so they can win their lane. But Team Nameless doing good again in the early stages. Top lane looks like a death happens while I wasn't paying attention. A stun coming down onto the Pit Lord. A little bit of more damage coming out with the shield going around. He's going to die because that shield's going to take the damage. Shrewd getting caught by the Dragon's Breath, picking up the kill. 2 deaths in the top lane. Not good at all for Slug Wolves in this early stage, which isn't going to help them, especially if this mid can start ganking or doing something to giving us up a little bit more power. The Razor wanting to take some damage, dive him, getting caught under the tower, but the tower's not going to do enough damage. Slug Wolves picking up a kill on the mid, shutting down the Storm Spirit for now. Not too good for Nuwa. Rare that we see him lose a lane, at least from what I've seen, and I've only casted 1 game for these guys, but looking a little bit better for these guys. Slug Wolves, their mid is winning. A little bit of tower damage coming down onto Slug Wolves top tier 1. Taking a look at the towers, looks like bottom lane is going to be the most vulnerable. Top lane not having much damage, mid not much either, and bottom not having much either. But let's go back to the lanes, look at mid, because there is a rotation for the Shadow Demon. I mean the Shadow, what is his name? Yeah, Shadow Demon. I keep on mixing up Shadow Demon and Shadow Fiend. Don't know why, it's always been like that. Bottom lane, Hillbilly a little pushed forward, but he knows that that internal BKB is going to be able to be popped, which is just the rage for the Lifestealer. A little bit of a situation going down on bot. Hillbilly stunning right onto the Lich. Lich casting up the shield around himself. The slow mental damage, taking a lot of damage, but a Q coming out from the what's his Abaddon to give him a little bit of a heal. Double damage rune mid. Nothing quite happening with 3 heroes down in the bot lane. Lion trying to catch a stun, catching the Shadow Demon. Stun coming down, not able to run, but the retaliatory TP from the Razor, catching him in the queue, slowing him down, running him right down. The ability coming off of the... Ooh, it was a slow onto the Centaur War Runner, picking up the kill. Still wanting to dive, still picking up another kill. The mid laner for Slug Wolves seems to be a problem. They're probably going to have to gank him in about probably 3 to 5 minutes. Or else they're going to have a struggle with him. I mean, sure, Nuwa's getting a little bit of free farm mid now that he's out of the lane, but the trade wasn't worthwhile. At least in my mind, it wasn't worthwhile for the Storm Spirit to farm the mid. But it's players, high level, pretty good players. A bit of action going on in the mid. Shadow Demon overextended a little bit, but the Razor's coming around, telling him to back off the Shadow Demon. Not quite able to use his escape to get out, and getting caught on a perch and dying. Razor fed out of his ass. A little bit of action going down bottom. They're trying to pull in Hillbilly with the gaze, but not quite able to do anything with it. He has a lot of health, really tanky character, especially whenever you have the two bracers. I mean, right now, if you're asking me who's going to win, I'm still thinking this team with the Razor is going to win because the Razor's a little bit fed. Doing a lot of action for Slugwolves. Wouldn't be surprised to see him carry this game. I didn't look at the kill feeds or the ratios before coming into this. But Lion finding bottom rune, finding the Lich. I think he had enough vision for the Lich, but he's going to walk back, not really try to go in for a fight. Hillbilly still in the lane. Lifestealer, full health. Going in on the Lifestealer, doing a stun from the Lion. No fish coming out, but Hillbilly's going to get attacked a little bit. Open wounds on him, backing up. Abaddon rotating around, hopefully trying to pick up a kill on this Lich, but he's a little too fast for him. Backing up, and not quite picking up a kill there. Mid tower being attacked by Nikito, and Nuddle. Bottom lane, not thinking they can pick up a kill here on my own intuition because the internal BKB pop of Rage.
Radiant structures are fortified.
One bit of action mid. Nua catching the plasma field, but it isn't going to quite kill him. They are going to defend the tower, maybe try to get off a deny here. The rotation from the Dragon Knight, not able to get a stun off, low on mana, turns around. I don't know who picked up the tower. Maybe a deny? I don't know. Bottom lane, rotation onto the Lion, not quite able to do too much. I think he will have his... No, he used all of his abilities, stacked them on top of each other. Now he's going to take a little bit of damage from the Lynx, which is the Lifestealer. Stun coming out, but failing. Lich ult coming out, not bouncing. Lion stunning again, somehow getting his guy out of the fight. And a lot of utilities used on the side of Slugwolves, not quite able to pick up the kill, especially now that the Lich ult is down. But you're going to have that fed Razor rotating around, trying to get himself a little peek. Not seeing the Abaddon in, but no stun coming out from the Lion. Attack onto the towers, trying to gain the early advantage. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to... Doesn't look like Nameless is going to be able to come in and do too much, but still, they come in, attempt it. No link on the Razor. Gaze grabbing Hillbilly. Slugwolves, Lifestealer in the front line with the Razor diving a little bit with the static. The team Nameless somehow yank them in and pick up a major kill onto the Razor. And Pervin grabbed up by Nua, who has no mana now. 2 kills for none, but a little bit of tower damage for Slugwolves. Not a good trade. But now the Shadow Demon getting caught under their own tower and dying. 3 kills for none. Nua has no mana. Lion does not have his ult. And I think if the Lich would have had his ult, that would have helped their team, but he tried earlier to pick up a kill, unable to pick up the kill, which transitioned into this team fight where it was not available. Let's take a look at the kill, the Goldworth with the Dragon Knight at the top, the Razor at second, Storm Spirit into the Centaur Warrunner with the top 4 being 3 members from Nameless, 1 member from Slugwolves. I don't think that's too good for Team Slugwolves. But Lynx in the jungle, farming up a little bit. Only the Abaddon spotting him. No wards in the jungle for either side. Bottom lane, the Lich solo does have his ult. Everybody's ults are up besides the Lion. An ultimate from the Centaur. Diving behind the tower is Slugwolves, able to pick up a kill on the highly reputed Dragon Knight, who has a lot of gold, but now unable to farm, unable to do anything. They're now going to dive onto the Abaddon. Abaddon not able to do too much. This doesn't look like a team fight that Nameless wants to take or wanted to take. Opting to instead back up. The Lion is kind of in a bad spot. Will likely die here. Shadow Demon's abilities, spotting him out. Shadow Poison spotting him out once again. Not able to run, especially with the Pit Lord Pit locking you in place. Doesn't look too good for Team Nameless, even after that last team fight, which gave them a heavy gold swing. But Slugwolves, I mean a heavy gold sling in their way, but the Razor still seem to be a problem. I mean, if this hero gets a lot of farm early and has the setups such as stuns and doesn't have a fear of diving in while static linking your team, he's going to be able to do that. So realistically, what can this Team Nameless do in order to turn this game around and snowball? I think they're going to have to coordinate a few smoke ganks. Try to ignore the Lifestealer and go after this Razor, or possibly the two squishy supports, which can stop the Disruption one, because the Disruption is hard to deal with, especially whenever you can use it as a save. And they do smoke. Looks like they're ready to rumble, hopefully get a little situation down at bot. They do spot out the Lifestealer, but that internal BKB might be an issue for them, which is Rage. Spot him out, Lion, stun, bring in, Nuwa, rushing in, catching him, ult from Lion, not able to get the Rage off, dying to the Lion, giving him another stack onto his ultimate, which is, I believe, plus 50? No, plus 40 per. Nameless picking up a beautiful kill onto the Lifestealer. The Lifestealer's not going to be able to farm for the next few minutes, not be ready for the team fight, but the Lion ult is down, and Slugwolves can take a nice fight here, not being afraid of the Razor getting hit with the finger. Lion immediately getting pinged, grabbed up by the Disruption. They see where they can fight. The Razor immediately coming out, doing the Plasma Field. Pit Lord grabbing onto the Abaddon. Abaddon's not quite able to do too much here besides pop his ult, but he's still going to be too slow because the Plasma Field comes out. Razor's on top. Lifestealer busting out of the Razor. Doesn't really matter. You're still going to pick up the Abaddon. Beautiful setup by Slugwolves, taking the advantage with the Lion ult being down, knowing Razor can push in, as always, doing his job, static linking, gaining up damage, and picking a beautiful fight, which secures them a tower. You know, what can you do to stop this Razor? That's the major issue. I mean, he doesn't have a BKB yet, but he does have the Mantis tile, which lets him split off anything you try to do to him, such as a stun, the Orchid. Anything that you try to do to him can get split off. So it's going to make this game harder. What does Nameless want to build in this situation? They have a Blade Mail, which redirects them well, which offs a little bit of damage to him. Dive by the Lion. Lich ult coming out. Does connect. Bouncing around in the background. Lion not quite able to do too much. I mean, he was out of position with Slugwolves getting their support gone onto, but Winx is going to pick up a kill onto Hillbilly, even though the stun comes out. Nuwa going after the Razor, who is fed. Don't go after the Razor. Stunned out, trying to run. Catches the ability to run. Not stunned up, not gazed, because the gaze is on cooldown. The Rod, not quite able to hold him down long enough, and escaping. Doesn't matter. They did pick up 3 players on Nameless. So, once again, they're going to push their advantage and try to jam, take an objective, which this time it's going to be Roshan. Don't really know what Nameless is going to be able to do to come back in this situation. I mean, It's hard to hold down this Razor, and Razor seems to be the major issue. Sure, you have the stuns from the opposing team. Maybe a BKB so you don't get stunned up and you can break the wounds, which is slowing you, or you can buy a... what's the boots called? You can buy... I forgot the boots. You can buy those boots that remove the slow and just rush in with the boots because it negates all slows and for some amount of time, but they're really good. It's built off of the Tranquil boots. But immediate smoke gank by Team Slug Wolves. Lich ult down. Shadow Demon ult up. Pit Lord ult up. Lifestealer ult up, but I mean, Lifestealer ult isn't that major. You want to worry and fight around that Lich ult, which is now up. Slug Wolves gathering up, grouping, ready to fight, hoping to find a member of Nameless, and if they continue going this route, they are going to find the Lion, which they already see because he is mid, fighting the creep wave, getting a little bit of farm, immediately casting the Plasma Field. No chance for the poor Lion, ganked out from their bottom triangle. Sad situation for the Lion, but it's okay. Rather him than a core member of their team. I mean, he's back in 20 seconds. The core of the team still able to farm and do what they need to do to prevent an initiation and attack on the tower. Nua catching a little bit of damage, not quite a dire situation for him yet in terms of objectives, but the Roshan Aegis is on the Razor, which isn't good. You're gonna have to pick up a really good team fighter or pick onto the Razor if you want to kill him, but they do cast the Hex onto the Lifestealer, not quite stunned up yet. Rage comes out. No, it doesn't. Lion immediately getting a finger off, getting more stacks, and killing the Lifestealer, which should be able to secure them an objective because the Razor wouldn't want to fight the Aegis. But yeah, that bot tower is down. I don't know why I thought it was still up. But still, a little bit of time for them to farm. Know that they aren't going to push into him because they want to have everybody available for the next team fight on Slug Wolves. But yeah, they can take an objective, the mid tower. Nua attacking the mid tower, not quite seeing the Razor come in. I don't believe Razor Plasma Field hitting, but they're gathering, looking, seeing the Razor, knowing he might be solo, but are they going to go in? Nua casting another ability onto the Razor, but immediately getting gone onto, backing up, out of the fight. Hillbilly still in the fight. A whole bunch are running around by the Storm Spear, grabbing the the Shadow Demon. The ult coming off from the Lifestealer, catching the Dragon Knight out. The ult coming off of the Abaddon, not quite able to escape, caught out. Nua not gonna get caught because he does still have his charge, his ball lightning, and utilize the Aegis good there for a team fight that didn't even take it. Is there an opportunity left for Slug Wolves to lose this game? I don't really know because they just have so much going on for them with this Razor. Razor's an issue. And you just don't have much to stop him unless you get the jump. Because if he has the Aegis, I mean, what can you do? Nua can only go in, do so much. The Lion can come in, use his finger once. You aren't going to be able to pick up the kill on him secondary unless you double lock him down. Which, I mean, you can get with the Dragon Knight, but it's just so hard to lock down the Razor and have to deal with this Lifestealer. Because they have so much save, they have so much lockdown, and you guys have so minimal compared to him currently. I mean, at this moment, it kind of feels like team support versus team carry, and you gave team carry the early advantage. The Razor's great at team fighting, even in the late game, because he can get a Satanic, but Nua going in, hoping to pick up a kill. They find the Razor, they back out. You don't want to fight into that, but the Abaddon getting caught out, not quite fast enough to escape. The Thunderstorm hitting onto him, all being popped, immediately getting stunned down by the Rod. Team fight directly under the tower. It doesn't matter if the tower's there. They're going to go in. Pit Lord unable to grab. Nua trying to go in. The Dragon Knight's in. Lion's in. What can you do? You can't stop these guys. They're just going to continue to team fight. They have the Aegis going directly onto Hillbilly in the backline. Razor's Aegis getting busted by the Dragon Knight. Turning around with the Lion stun coming out. Mana Sap. And the Shadow Demon still stuck in the backline, getting attacked a little bit, not quite dying. Nuwa stuck in the backline, trying to escape, doesn't have mana. The Plasma Field coming out to finish him. Not an opportunity for Nameless to win that. They had the Aegis, they had the setup. The wards, if you had them down, aren't really going to help in this situation because they just have so much to support this Razor, and they have so much to support the Lifestealer. Nameless had a chance to win this game, but with the early advantage that was created for the Razor, they didn't quite have the opportunity. And you know, if the Razor builds a BKB and a Satanic, they don't even need the Satanic at this point for right now because it's the mid game and they still can't lock down the Razor and kill him. Sure, they had the Aegis, but no one wants to go against this Razor because he is their front line. But he also steals your damage. What are you supposed to do? If he links onto one of your carries at the beginning of the game, I mean, at the beginning of the team fight, you're not able to stop him. Sure, you got a stun from the Lion. Sure, you got a Hex from the Lion, but it's going to continue to happen. But big smoke by Nameless, hoping to pick up something here, throwing down the ward, desperate to pick something up so they can probably get some time to farm, push objectives, and make this game extend. In the bottom jungle is Nameless. Slugwolves, not quite knowing that they're smoked up, I don't believe. Rotating through the jungle, they're split up a little bit. Wouldn't be good for initiation if they ran into the right character. Because you don't have all your guys together. This is a desperation play. The smoke wearing out with Nameless now going to farming. They don't know where they are. The only way they can think is that they're in the top jungle of theirs or the triangle, or possibly farming in the other section. They could possibly be taking no, Tormentor isn't up. They already took Tormentor. My mistake. Okay, but 20-12. It's not over for Nameless. They still have the opportunity to do something and possibly try to create a game plan that's going to allow them to take out this Razor, which is the core of Slugwolf's team fight. You just don't want this dude in the front line. Immediately, Centaur are coming out, trying to run back, able to run back. Not a good position for the Abaddon, catching a little bit of Shadow Poison, spotted out. Nuwa using using his grab, but not quite able to grab anything because the Rage came out. But guess what? It's time for the raid to begin. The ult coming out from the Razor. Razor getting directly on top of the Dragon Knight. Whole bunch of blinking around by Nuwa, not quite able to catch anything. The ult from the Lich doing a decent bit of bounce damage and catching some slows onto some very key heroes. The Lion stuck in the back line, throwing out his stun. It's not going to work for Nameless this game. They just can't seem to catch a good initiation. Even when they go in, it seems like they ulted, wanted to run back, then they thought it's too late to run back, went right back into the team fight, which turned into a disaster. Because once these guys know where you are, you have to come back. The way you win this game is, if you're Nameless, is you either extend it so you guys can take it to the 60 minutes, you want to smoke up and get onto this Razor, who's the team fight center of this Slugwolves team, or you can possibly, I mean, you don't want to jump on the supports. Don't waste the smoke on the supports. Just go after this Razor. The Razor is the key portion. Who cares about Lifestealer when you have this Razor stealing your damage and using it against you? He's legitimately the Lotus Orb of carries. If you try to do something to him, he's going to do it right back. He's going to take your damage and use it against you. So, perhaps a Heaven's Halberd, but he can still spread it off via the Manta style. Nullifier, you can immediately smack a Nullifier onto him so he can't use it. Nullifier would have been a good item against him. But I just don't quite know. Nuwa going into a position that is not too good, but still able to make it out. He has plenty of mana. The Abaddon's there to support him, but What can you do if you're new in this position? Your team's behind. This Razor's a really tough character to fight against. Do you want to try to get these pickoffs so you guys can try to force a fight and take an objective right after? Because you know that they're going to defend these objectives because they feel more powerful. Or do you just continue to try to smoke up as a team and try to pick off the Razor individually? Because you know someone's always going to be around him, but is that individual going to have enough to lock you guys down off of the Razor? I don't think so. If Razor in this situation built a Satanic first, he'd be unstoppable. Sure, you're going to get stunned a little bit, but you still have the team to support you in the back line. Like, sure, you can cast the BKB, try to TP out, run away, but you can stand there and fight also if you have that the proper support behind you, especially if it's Lich or Shadow Queen. If too many aren't there. In a team fight, the Satanic's going to give you the ability to team fight and just trade. Because if you get low, you can still fight. But the Pit Lord getting caught out by Nuwa. Nuwa leading to the Lion Stun, trying to do a little bit of action, getting gazed, catching a kill onto the Lich. With Lich's ult is coming out. Nuwa not quite able to stay in the fight, blinking out with his ball lightning. What is that? The Lifestealer getting caught out. Pit Lord's Pit still stunning people. With the Dragon Knight going down due to the Razor getting into the team fight. Isn't looking good for Nameless. Don't quite have any ability to escape from this, especially whenever you have the Plasma Field being shot. The Lion getting stunned. Abaddon going down. Hillbilly trying to run, getting hit with the rod. Not able to escape. Slug Wolves looking all but perfect in these team fights because they are able to support this Razor. Even if they get dived on in a bad position, the team fights last so long that Nameless aren't able to kill them before the sustain kicks in. The sustain is what's allowing this Razor to come into these team fights, even whenever it's not beneficial for them. But that's what happens whenever a lead happens for a mid laner like that. But you gotta commend the fact that Nameless is still trying to team fight and still trying to get these pickoffs because it shows that they still want to win. Even though the odds are against them, they still want to win, obviously. Yes. But it's so hard against this Razor because he has too much support. Like, what does Nameless have in terms of combos in this position? You have the ability for the Storm Spirit. You have the ability of the Storm Spirit to go in, lock him up with the W, the Vortex, and hope to God it just hits long enough for you to pick up a kill, because you also have the stun from Lion and the Hex from Lion. Sure, you have a lot of lockdown, but the lockdown isn't going to work against a team that's centered around this sustain and slowing you guys out and sustaining enough to bring them into a more advantageous position. Like, you got to think about it. You can use the Lion Hex, you can use the Lion Stun onto the Razor. Sure, you can cast your shield from Abaddon on any character and let the damage fly back like it's a secondary blade mail, but what can you do? Like, if you somehow target and take out Nikto, the Lifestealer's just going to be able to come around and out-sustain. Would he? I mean, realistically, I mean, you have the Lion Stun, which can stun out the Razor, which can turn into a great initiation point if you can get on top of him. Dragon Knight can throw down his stun, but then you're using all your abilities on a one character trying to keep him locked down. But Pit Lord does have a stun, which can counteract your guys' attempts to go on to him if he's near him. Lich has the ult, which can slow everybody, and does he have the Aegis yet? I mean, not the Aegis, but the Ag Shard? No. I don't quite understand what Nameless can do in this situation, even if they had the perfect initiation, because they're just so fed. Sure, they have a lot of lockdown, but they can just out-sustain. I mean, it's just like the safe laner's a tank. You have an off-laner tank. You have a hero which slows your guys down. You just have too much tankiness. You know, I'm not the greatest analyst when it comes to these types of things, but I just feel like it's impossible to stop this Razor unless you can target him in a perfect team fight where it's just him solo. Because he just has so much. Team fight happening, Nameless going down, not quite able to find a position to go in here. I really just don't know.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
I don't know if the opposing team saw something that I couldn't with all these picks besides that it's lockdown, and hopefully we can lock down the Razor, but it was just a hard match from the beginning for Nameless, and this just isn't the Nameless I'm used to seeing.
Dire's middle barracks has fallen.
While the mid barracks goes down.
Dire's middle barracks are under attack.
I mean, what? Razor can have the BKB, you can cast the BKB,
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
which makes him invulnerable for a little bit of time from the spells. If he had a Satanic, which he hasn't built, if he has a Satanic, he can just lifesteal himself back to 100. So, I mean, you gotta burst him, which Lionfinger can kind of help with. Maybe if Lion would have built... How much health does that? It's like 1,000 plus another 1,000 to 2,000. I mean, if Lion builds a Dagon and levels it to max, he has close to 2,000 damage, 1,600, and you can kind of burst the Razor before you would pop BKB. But yeah, now he has Satanic. Guess he was building Satanic the whole time. I just don't know how to pay attention to it. So, I mean, in a perfect situation early game, let's say he didn't have the Satanic, and let's say he didn't have the BKB, what you can do is you can Lion Hex, Lion Stun, use the Abaddon shield onto the Dragon Knight, who can sustain in the front line and do a bit of damage to him. But let's get back into this fight. The Razor finding his victim, grabbing up a little bit more damage, sapping it, doing a little bit of damage, not quite taking too much from the Blade Mail, catching the Centaur War Runner with the rest of Nameless backing up, but the Lifestealer finding the Abaddon, stunning him out with the Skull Basher. Nikto finding the Abaddon, just right-clicking Pit Lord with the stun. No GG called, but it seems like it's all just pretty much over for this team Nameless in map 1. I'm still trying to put together what's happening here. I know that it might be annoying, but I just don't know what you can do to stop this Razor. Because to me, it seems like the Razor's the major issue in the fight, especially during the early game, which allowed them to sprawl this lead so hard. I mean, he's taking your guys' damage, and you guys don't have that much non-magical damage going on. Like, sure, you have the Centaur War Runner who can use, I think it's Cleave? No, who can use the Double Edge and do a little bit of damage immediately, but you guys just don't have no long-term sustainable damage. And if he just steals it from your Dragon Knight, I mean, it's over. Sure, you have spell damage, but that's why I think that's why they built a pipe, yeah. So, I don't really know unless you got really fed early and just sprawled it out. Razor was just more of the major issue in this game, and let's take a look at the scores. I mean, the Razor having 9 of the 31 kills, but 20 assists. I just don't know. Maybe you could have, maybe more Dagons could have came out so you can burst down the Razor in a team fight so he doesn't have the chance to use the Satanic. Yeah, maybe burst. Give him the old Morphling treatment like you do with on Lion or any other character that has to go up against him. You have your hexes, your stuns. Use those. I mean, first you use your burst, then you use the stuns so he can't cast his abilities, and your hex. And just burst him down before he can do his swap. I just don't know. Just a really tough match for Nameless. Don't know what they could have done to change this besides stop the sprawling early game by the Razor. Because once again, the Razor is the core of their team fight. He's the one that can shoot out the plasma field, do a lot of damage to you, take the damage from your carry. Sure, Pit Lord can stun you, but he's a tank. What much can you do against that? Just take the stun, try to get out of the team fight, come back in with well, not come back in directly, but smoke up, try to catch the Razor, try to pick off some supports without initiating in a full-out team fight. Put a guy in the back as a counter initiator so you can run. Because you did have the Centaur ult, but Nua caught out, no mana, running with the haste from the Lifestealer and the Fed Razor. BKB being popped, trying to get back to base, able to do it. They didn't spot him out. Lion blinking away. No team fight. But yeah, I mean, early game, the only thing you could have done was try to get on top of this Razor, but even then, he has a bunch of saves on his team. The Pit Lord can pit you. The best thing you could have done in this game was utilize the Centaur War Runner ult, not as an initiation tactic, but as an escape. And you got to hope for this Lion to initiate and stun out the Razor so you guys can get on top of him while the team fight happens around you. Who cares about any of the other characters attacking your characters as long as you can get this Razor down before he steals all your damage? Because if he steals all your damage, he did his job. Doesn't matter if he's in the team fight or not. He stole your damage. You guys aren't going to have it for a little bit, and you're going to have to deal with the consequences of not having damage for however long that situation is or whatever happens in the middle of it. "40-minute game. Slug Wolves, Nameless. Roshan up. Taking the Roshan, I believe, all three of them. They had all three. Yeah, they'll take it without contest. It's not a good position for Nameless. What happened to him early on in this game with the Razor able to pick up the early advantage in the lane and being able to rotate. This situation down at bot tower where the team fight turned, I don't think that helped them either. But looking all but certain for Team Slug Wolves to take map 1, which means that Nameless would ultimately have to take map 2.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Leaving it to a map 3 going either way. But
Radiant's
some crazy
top
shit can
tower is
happen,
under
and we could possibly see Nameless take this, but it's not looking good for Nameless because that Razor is indeed fed. Maybe they might be able to do something here. I'm hoping to see something happen onto this Razor, picking up a kill for them early. Rod coming out, Nua into the team fight, Plasma casted, the ult used by Centaur to run away with a little bit of damage coming down into the back line. Lich ult did some damage, couldn't quite help them in this situation. The banner being down, Lion caught in the back line, stunning out, all but certain that he dies. Yes, no, it's the shadow, the Glimmer Cape. But the Abaddon rotted, the Lifestealer focusing for a minute onto the barracks, but turning around onto the Centaur War Runner with a few buybacks happening. Troll Bus trying to run away, can't quite run away. The Razor still frontlining with a focus onto the barracks. Doesn't matter what Nua does at this point. It's pretty much doomed for him. Getting caught, paralyzed by the pit with the plasma field coming out, shocking him to death. Winx attacking the center tower. Too bad for Team Nameless. Getting destroyed in the early game, leading to the mid-match. Not going their way, but glad to see that they were able to pick up map 2, and we'll get right into that next.